Festival, presented by the Climbing Association of Southern Arizona. Some of you may recognize me from a time when I walked up to somebody next to you, or maybe to you at the gym and told you your harness was twisted. That's me. My name is Stefanie Bertelsen, and I've been a climber for just over 12 years. I started working at the Indoor Recreational Center at the University of Georgia over a decade ago, and I've been employed in the outdoor industry pretty much ever since. This will be my 7th year living in Tucson, so I'm pretty much used to the heat. I accept that 95% of plants here have thorns or spines, and I am still falling in love with the American West. Currently, I am a manager at Rocks and Ropes. I also hold the title Climbing Community Relations. Essentially, this means I am the loudest and most outgoing employee by far. In reality, it means that I am the person reaching out to make connections in our community between climbers and folks and businesses in the Old Pueblo. And I can tell you that our connections here are very strong. We are a lucky bunch of outdoor enthusiasts in a truly unique part of the world, and I'm grateful to be a part of it, just as I am grateful to be a part of the No Man's Land Film Festival.
Hi, my name is Sadie Parent, and I am 13 years old. I have been a member of the Rocks and Ropes climbing team for the past 3 years, the past 2 on competition team. Empowering the next generation of young girls is very important to me. I volunteer as much and as often as possible. The places I volunteer include the 4-H High Ropes Course, Tucson Village Farm, the Climbing Association of Southern Arizona, the Rocks and Ropes Junior Team, and of course, climbing competitions. Having seen the No Man's Land Film Festival last year at the Women's Climbing Festival in Bishop, California, I am really excited to share this year's with you.
This wonderful group of films would not be in Tucson if it were not for the Climbing Association of Southern Arizona, known to many of us simply as Casa. Casa is a volunteer-run nonprofit whose goal is to be a home for climbers. Members who participate in Casa's programs and events learn new skills, connect with others, and in this way support and steward their local community and public lands. Thank you to everyone who has donated or supported Casa in any capacity. Please consider becoming a member of Casa today to keep these community projects going. Casa is actively looking for project leaders who want to give back in ways big and small, so make sure to visit the Casa table on your way out tonight. Sadie and I want to recognize several folks who were an integral part of bringing the No Man's Land Film Festival here to Tucson. So, Eric Safaya was incredibly supportive from the very beginning. But y'all should know that without the thoughtfulness of Sarah Parent and Chloe Jackson, we would not be here tonight. And of course, a big thank you to my lovely co-host, Sadie. We are lucky to call these people friends, and we're both grateful for the energy they put into organizing this event. We'd also like to acknowledge our sponsors, so a big thank you to Royal Robbins, maker of innovative adventure clothing, and to Structural Grace Incorporated, a Tucson female-owned bridge engineering company designing bridges for women by women. Last but certainly not least, we want to thank you all for coming out to enjoy this celebration of women adventuring in the great out of doors.
No Man's Land Film Festival is an all-female adventure film festival based out of the Rocky Mountains of Colorado that meets a need and desire to highlight and connect women in pursuit of the radical. We are a collaboration and celebration of men and women who are deeply engaged in enhancing the female presence in the outdoor adventure arena. The goal of this festival is to connect like-minded individuals who are action-oriented, wish to support a shared vision of gender equality, have a desire to experience their passions and environments through a uniquely female lens, and above all, love adventure. Along with cultivating a deep interest in exploring the vastness of our planet from a female point of view, No Man's Land strives to create a history of motivating audiences to implement and inspire change. Our mission transcends the films presented. This festival acts as a platform for progressive thought and movement in the outdoor industry. At No Man's Land, we aim to redefine feminine in sport through film.
In the spirit of celebrating female adventurers, we wanted to take a moment to recognize some local ladies who have embraced their outdoor pursuits but still make time to give back to the community. So tonight, we will be presenting for the first time ever the Lady Beta Awards. The Lady Beta Award gives us an opportunity to celebrate the work of these women, their contributions to the climbing community, and hear what they have to say. This, the inaugural year of the Lady Beta Award, we have 3 recipients who will be speaking with you shortly. Please welcome to the stage Stefanie Caffarel. Our community, both men and women alike, owe a heartfelt thank you to Steph for the work she has done mentoring women in the craft of climbing. Through the Bella Rock and Bella Lead courses that she has been teaching for over 6 years, Steph fosters a much-needed women's-only space. A Bella class with Steph is the perfect place for female climbers to learn new skills and where women can come together to grow as athletes and rope masters. But it's not just climbing knowledge that Steph brings to these climbers. Steph's capacity in her role as Bella's instructor fosters enduring relationships and community that continue long after the weekly classes end. This is true, we've all witnessed it. As a trained AMGA instructor, Steph teaches in a holistic way, guiding participants through all elements of climbing: body, mind, spirit, equipment, and partnership. Her courses help the women that climb in southern Arizona grow as individuals and as a tribe. The graduates of her courses pay it forward as rope guns, mentors, role models for the next generation of climbers.
Okay. Start with love and gratitude, a high mountain attitude that we all share, because I'm standing here and you're sitting there. Share and compare, as I was taught, not for competition, but for confluence. Influence you because you influence me to be the best that we can be. I see you and I look at your beauty. All of you little cuties. And I know something. I know that there's magic. And wouldn't it be tragic to let the boys have all the fun? Let us keep it up. Run amok with the trails and the sun. With the words and the lessons and the wild sessions. Through all kinds of weather. Thank you to those who carved the way, and thank you to the people who walk the way, and thank you to the people who teach the others to keep walking.
Please welcome to the stage Kate McHugh. McHugh is a consummate leader in the climbing community, having served as a board member of the Southern Arizona Climbers Coalition and organizing multiple climber stewardship events, including the very first Adopt-A-Crack in Southern Arizona at Cochise Stronghold. She has now turned her talent and attention towards her master's degree work, analyzing rock climbing management in wilderness areas administered by the National Park Service. Her work combines a broad review of policy related to climbing in wilderness, covering the politics of wilderness management, impact assessments, and historic as well as present use. Kate's goal is precedent setting, to address the needs for improved national policy for wilderness climbing management for the National Park Service. Yeah.
I'm so glad I got to follow Steph in her poem because that description sounded so boring. I have a couple of slides for you, not quite a poem, but I think the difference between Steph and I highlights what I really appreciate about the Tucson climbing community, and that's that it is diverse, that it's inclusive, and that it's positive. I grew up in Tucson and learned how to climb in a high school PE class. We would go climb at the hairpin before late start Wednesdays, and usually we were on time to class. I've lived in many other iconic climbing destinations, and I can say that those communities are not nearly as strong, positive, and inclusive as the Tucson climbing community is. So the crowd that you keep tonight is a fantastic group of people that will push you and support you, and I'm honored to be back here this evening, getting to share with you all what I'm so excited about spending the last couple of years doing. It was working here in Tucson with the local climbing organizations that I recognized that there was a need for climbers to engage with land managers and with other stakeholders. We had this really pivotal interaction in Cochise Stronghold a number of years ago involving the Access Fund and the Wilderness Society and the U.S. Forest Service. And I recognized that there were a lot of gaps in education for the land manager, and then there were some translation issues for climbers in talking to the land manager. So I say now that I'm a 513 reader. I'm really hoping to climb more soon. But I ultimately am hoping with the work that I'm doing to preserve climbing and the experience for us and for generations to come, like Sadie and the youth team at Rocks and Ropes and so on. Next slide. So the title of my thesis is Wilderness Rock Climbing Indicators and Climbing Management Implications in the National Park Service. Essentially what I'm doing is looking at wilderness, which is a special land designation that we have that doesn't allow motorized use or mechanized transport, and is meant to be, it's meant to preserve experiences of solitude and preserve wilderness as an American value. It's something that we as Americans have a land area over the size of the state of California protected, and there's no other country in the world that preserves that much space. This too, so I'm looking at the physical impacts of climbing on the landscape as well as the social impacts and how that fits in with the idea of wilderness. And this pile of tat and carabiners is over 200 feet of stuff that I pulled off of one climb. Wow. So my little stewardship message to you is get a knife, climb with it, and replace webbing. Don't just stack it on top of other webbing. It would also be great if it was tan or black webbing. But really, get a knife. And clean the route of climbing trash and clean up the place so it's better than you left it. If we can stay off of the land manager's radar, our lives are easier. So be good stewards of the land. Next slide. My project is financially supported by the Access Fund, the Alpine Club, the Joshua Tree National Park Association, and then heavily logistically subsidized by the National Park Service. I think it's really cool that this work is supported by the professional climbing community, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to include our voices as climbers and present a professional product to land managers that weigh in what we as climbers need to see. Next slide. This project is also made possible by the committed help of skilled volunteers that range from Joshua Tree's climber stewards to park rangers, both law enforcement and not, IFMGA mountain guides, and some very committed local climbers. Next slide. Ultimately, my thesis looks at what is the qualitative, which is a very researchy 513 reader word, what is the qualitative aspect of climbing? Like, what makes climbing in wilderness special? How is climbing in Joshua Tree National Park? Has anyone here climbed in Joshua Tree? Yeah, awesome. How is it different than climbing on Mount Lemmon? How is it different from climbing in the Needles district of Canyonlands or Island in the Sky? How is it different than climbing at Grand Teton? So what does that really look like, and why is that a value that we want to protect on public land? Next slide. Then the other piece of the puzzle is the quantitative component, and that's measuring the actual impacts of climbing on the landscape. So that's things like bolts, cut vegetation, erosion, noise, chalk. Ultimately, you and I can do things every day we go out to minimize our physical and social impact on the landscape. Next slide. I'm doing 2 case study tests for the national framework. One is in Joshua Tree and one is in Grand Canyon. And ultimately, this project was inspired by the work that started here in Tucson with this climbing community. And looking at the positive voices that the people in the southern area, I don't want to just say Tucson because there are awesome people in the greater southern Arizona area that are working toward these greater goals as well. So I just want to thank each and every one of you who showed up for a stewardship event, who's donated to your local climbing organization, who joined the Alpine Club, who give money to the Access Fund. And I encourage you, as a park ranger, try to be nice to them when you go talk to them and get them on your side and tell them about why you think climbing is special. So ultimately, I just want to say thank you to everyone here, and I hope to deliver something meaningful and then go climbing when I'm done with all of my massive amount of reading.
Please welcome to the stage, Lora Rivera. Lora gives to this climbing community an invaluable combination of skills and talents. As Vice President of Casa, she provides careful leadership and a level perspective during even the most difficult of situations. Lora is a foundational part of the marketing and social media support for Casa programs and events, and regularly gets in the thick of things by training volunteers. To quote her friend Eric Sophia, "Without parallel in the country is Lora's vision and production of 2 climbing anthology books showcasing local climbers and their stories. While bringing to life Stories from the Drylands, Volumes 1 and 2, Lora harnessed not only the storytelling energy of this climbing community, but the talents of a professional editor, a guidebook author, and numerous other volunteers. Both editions have captured the humor, grit, quirks, and camaraderie that infuse this climbing community. Lora climbs also with an instinctive passion. She moved with a natural, intuitive connection to the rock the very first time she roped up. That passion extends beyond the small holds and technical sequences she is so good at negotiating. She expands this passion broadly by giving back to the greater climbing community. She also points it internally as a way to learn about herself and process life's challenges." Thank you.
I want you all to think for a sec about something you've done recently that you are really proud of. Got it? Now breathe in deeply. What did it feel like to accomplish that thing? How does it feel here when you're breathing and thinking about it? And who was there with you when you did it? Did it take you a long time before you finally got it? Were there people along the way, in the background, supporting you? Let's try to tuck that one away for a second. Now for us climbers, backpackers, hikers, canyoneers, mountain bikers, cyclists, runners, ball players, gymnasts, dancers, boxers, all of us who do hard things. When was the last time that you went up against that body, brain, fear barrier and won your fight with the rock, the trail, the field, the finish line? And who was there with you? We believe in ourselves, and that is so very important for healthy communities to be strong and confident in the face of fear, to press on even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. We live in a land that champions rugged individualism. The hero who turns the tide of war, the single mom who holds down a full-time job and raises 2 kids and volunteers at our local school. How about the pro rock climber who sends the first 515D? Rugged individualism makes for a nice epic, but y'all,
It's a myth. The truth is, in this world, not one of us is alone. Not one of us is running solo. Nothing that we do is without impact. And when we face our biggest challenges and win or fall, we don't do it by ourselves. 4 Sundays ago, I was out rock climbing, and I fell and hit the ground, some 15 feet maybe. I landed on my butt, I bounced, and I fell about that far-ish again. A bunch of people came to the rescue, ended up in the ER, and I'm honestly really lucky to be alive and in mostly one piece here, standing with you tonight. The thing about us climbers, the reason we like our sport so much is the puzzle. How to go from here to there without falling or hanging on the rope, or honestly just how to go from here to there. And so when things happen, when accidents happen, we want to know what went wrong. Was the rope too short? Was there a knot at the end? Did the hardware fail? Did a piece pull? What happened? So here's what happened. My team messed up. You see, our climbing systems are not just the ropes and the hardware and the harnesses, but it's the organs that are sitting here between our ears. It's our brains, it's our bodies, it's our communication with each other. My climbing team's system failed in many more ways than one that day. Climbing and nothing, really everything that we do in this life is not just a single person activity, and successes and failures ride on the shoulders of many. That day I had a responsibility to speak, to be in touch with my level of experience and my comfort, to check in with my belayer and to see how she was doing, all throughout the day, and especially at the moment that we decided to do something dangerous together. I had a responsibility to see that the system was set up right. And I had a responsibility to say no to climbing on something that made me feel uncomfortable, something that hadn't been fully explained to me. To say no to a boy crashing our girls' day. But my boundaries were weak, and the whole team, my whole team, paid the price. We don't succeed or fail alone. Our relationships, our belayer climber, our intimate partner, our friendships, they don't succeed or fail alone. Our families, our businesses, our nonprofits, our communities, successes and failures, even our country's successes and failures, ride on the shoulders of many. So think back to that success from the beginning of our talk. Who helped you try and win? And who was it that was there to help set you up for success? Who helped you? Who was with you? And the last time that you fell hard, who was there who helped pick up the pieces and put you back together again? You're not alone. You have a team, whether you like it or not. So if you can, choose your teammates wisely. And as far as the nuts and bolts go, on your next outdoor adventure, in your family, at your job, at your school, and as you go up against that next rock-hard thing, be asking yourselves, are we checking in with each other? Are we saying no when we want to, when we need to? Are we eating enough food at the right time, the right food, drinking enough water, feeding these brains and bodies that crank away tirelessly for us all day and all night, keeping us safe and whole? Are we checking in with our teammates? Are we asking good questions of them, of ourselves? And are we listening, really listening to the answers? Thank you.
And without further ado, please silence your cell phones, note that there will be a 15-minute intermission, and enjoy the No Man's Land Film Festival.